Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think we have a lot of important discussions, this Congress, but there is one important discussion that I truly believe we need to take it very seriously. It's a Section 702 reauthorization of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. And I want to remind ourselves that the main job of us, representative of the people, is to protect people's rights to life, liberty, and property. We will never have equal opportunities. We will always don't want to have equal outcomes, but it's equality of rights. And this is the job of Congress and legislature. And we know very well that rights of American, constitutional rights of Americans have been violated. And I'm going to cite some excerpts from the report that Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board just issued recently. That is, board was created to oversee due processes, and they issued in line with our reauthorization. And it's actually ran by Democrats, and the chair is appointed by President Biden. So this is from the report. The board finds that Section 702 poses significant privacy and civil liberty risks, most notably from U.S. person queries and batch queries. Significant privacy and civil liberty risks also include the scope of permissible targeting. It also talks about new type of procedures that have been recently authorized in 22, and we had a lot of challenges with about collection that Congress somewhat put a stop to it, but it says if the new procedures that were just authorized were used in widespread fashion, it could be extraordinary, intrusive. It also talks about, that the board finds that risk of overboard government collection of communications is very real and can cause harm, and no individualized judicial review of targeting decision. We had almost 300% increase in surveillance since 2013, double in the last 5 years. And this surge is very concerning since there is no specific review of that. And then, also it talks about that this could be a lot of things that be collected, could be political, religious, social advocacy. There are significant concerns about this program overall. And the changes that FBI done, they say, hasn't been sufficient to protect privacy and civil liberties. And it's also actually confirmed by the internal audit of a recent report. The most recent, it was in May 2023, where the internal audits of FBI was talking pretty much about over 90% of queries don't have any evidence of justification of these queries. And it's like FBI is very good that they don't record and don't recall, so they avoid all of the liability. But it's a serious issue, so we have some discussions, and I think judiciary bill is somewhat deal with one issue a little bit better. At least it requires warrant for queries of U.S. person, but it's still both of the bills that Intelligence Committee and Judiciary Committee are proposing lack some very serious consideration. There is no outside review what data is collected. And this is something the board there is a significant, and there is a board pretty much recognizes an agency, they do collect, information on Americans, but they cannot assess how much. So at least there needs to be some sample by a FISA court when they do certification to start dealing and figuring it out, because ultimately there is a potential that our agency have access to be able to collect without warrant and survey many Americans, and we don't know how many Americans they are surveying and what NSA doing by when they do filtering procedures. There is no ability for us even to know what's going on or outside review of that. Board brings this concerns, but also concerned with documentation. I think Congress should have forced, we do it in other areas, and accounting we do it too, where there should be evidence and documentation. We can have preventative controls in systems, and when queries run, there is evidence of review, evidence of approval, and justification, by FBI why they're using this loophole in the law that potentially violate rights of U.S. citizens and many Americans. I think this is the magnitude of this problem is significant, and the magnitude of violations could be very material. And I think Congress needs to be much more serious in this consideration before we reauthorize this section. Another thing that board talks about, there is a, for national security, it's an important section, but actually, the agencies didn't prove that U.S. queries that they're doing actually give justification to what they're doing to provide them more extension on that. But I think we need to put more guardrails, and I hope we'll have more discussions on this issue, and these bills are not just going to be forward in the way how they are, because I want to remind us, if we're not willing to stand up for the rights of Americans here, then, I don't know why we're even in Congress here. And this Fourth Amendment right is a significant right, and it's a bipartisan issue. And I hope we will take a more serious look how we can improve this FISA reauthorization before it's reauthorized and have a better legislation. Thank you very much, and I yield back.